The end of the ego, which was the exploration that led Buddha to taste the love of freedom from nothing to lose, nothing to gain, nirvana, to the detachment from things that fate itself will take away from birth to birth, entering the enlightenment of non-mind, of the rest from thoughts that only create noise, distraction, and consume vital energy. At the same time, Enrique realized that he is less good than he thought, summoning a good dose of courage to confront or observe head-on that internal shade, calling shadow that his ego avoided acknowledging. It is unpleasant to observe, and few have the courage to examine that negative part that every human being has within themselves, and even fewer, it is not accepted by society. For this reason, it is hidden or repressed, thus creating a latent virus in the human unconscious that allows for destructive and self-destructive behavior. This phenomenon has been observed and studied by Robert Louis Stevenson in the concept of the double personality, giving more strength to this negative energy and growing the shadow that will ultimately undermine the goodwill of the conscious self we initially had and wanted to guide our lives with good intentions or initiatives, because everyone is capable of committing atrocities, like a tyrant. But one must be aware to be able to integrate it harmoniously into the psyche of the personal subconscious and in conformity with the complex being, knowing that one will have to face pain as part of growth, uncertainty due to the continuous changes in life, and work as part of human progress. These last three tools are shared by Phil Stutz as Part X, after adapting the shadow into the psyche. A harmony, a symbiosis, is created in the structure that forms a fundamental progress in the essence of being and brings out the best in you. The shadow allows the development of your basic instincts, such as creativity impulses, balanced reactions, and sensible intuitions. Because involuntarily bearing our best talents when hiding our dark side loses the balance of what is candid and dark. Reaching the phase described by Carl Jung as individuation, that is, identifying internal authenticity, because you are unique and must be yourself. You have to decide what you want to make of yourself, the tyrant or the hero of your life, accepting and recovering from each pain you will experience. Like the majestic king of the sea, the shark that was caught and raised in a fish tank, comfort zone, and does not develop because it remains too small to face the challenges of existence. Instead, you may prefer to be the shark that lives in the vastness of the ocean, facing all the difficulties of life, and is rewarded with higher growth and much greater strength. Growing up, being an adult, taking responsibility for your destiny, and fighting against every cruelty. Avoiding the new social trend or neurosis, faulty father-son relationships, of not maturing psychologically, puer aeternus, who remain childlike forever, exhibiting emotional weakness and cowardice. Not living in the fullness of individuation and adverse circumstances. Remaining in perpetual immaturity or passive regression, man-child, because they don't want to have the willpower, consistency, and intensity to respond with necessary actions in the face of adversity. An absolute lack of responsibilities. Nietzsche also explains this in the concept of the last man being submissive, passive, docile, and easily manipulated. All of this to avoid any kind of confrontation that could provoke a loss of security, allowing misery and corruption in society because they don't know how to say no. Like the truly good person who knows who they really are, they are not harmless or innocent. Rather, they are very dangerous, but have self-knowledge and know how to control and willingly keep their most harmful or dark emotions in check, accepting and opposing the possibility of the presence of evil, limiting its proliferation. It's like the Zen philosophy of the East explains the difference between innocence and ignorance, that is, between the newborn, baby, and the enlightened person. The first, is an ignorant creature and by no means innocent. Yes, that's right. Instead, the second is a rebellious person, by no means ignorant, the sheep that left the flock because they had the courage to experience every falsehood of society. Fall and rise, know evil, and face it without fear, creating a higher value than those 99 sheep that stay in the flock to be safe for fear of the 6 ghosts of man. Fear of poverty, fear of criticism, fear of loss of love, fear of illness, fear of aging, and fear of death. Similarly, they do not want to polarize with a personality or preference, such as being introverted or extroverted, because this only creates an imbalance with the harmony of the universe or the world. They prefer to remain relaxed and balanced, as taught by the great Zen master Sosin. When you are thirsty, then you drink water. This allows you to balance both external and internal aspects without deficit. Equally, don't get lost in the disease of the mind that always has to choose or analyze something. Just integrate into the universe as it is, because it is perfect. There is nothing to change, perhaps only your false version in which you have identified yourself, which continues to create a slogan with the mind that often leads to mental illness. That many call it Aristotelianism because it's a sickness of wanting to understand everything and have total wisdom, to the point of trying to collect all the water from the ocean with a spoon. But the rebellious person returns enlightened the moment they choose good, making them an innocent person because they have the weighted wisdom to make the most empathetic decision for themselves and the humans around them. In other words, there is no need to fear because your conscious energy cannot be destroyed, it can only be transformed. It is the force that surrounds your body and expands from 3 to 5 feet on all sides. Therefore, it is necessary to maintain integrity and empathy to grow in that powerful space that surrounds you, connecting with the laws of nature, the earth, and the cosmos. On the other hand, everything else that conflicts with it, theologies, philosophies, or laws, will be bandits against the natural rules that sustain good living in the universe, and they will have no choice but to be expelled. Quote, "The greater the crime perpetrated by the leadership, the less likely it is that people will ever believe that their leaders are capable of perpetrating such an event." Adolf Hitler. It is that part of the spirit that is within you, not in religion. Very difficult to find in programmed adults and rarely found in the elderly and children, but very rare, since you can feel that high frequency from 2 meters away, and it's very hard to maintain such clean energy. To think that in just 1 year, I have encountered only 2 people with such frequency, an elderly Asian woman who didn't even have to look at me or even greet me, just passed by as she walked, and today, after so long, a little girl with around 6 years old who was riding a bike with a family member and only glanced me for a few seconds. That's why I hope everyone loses their attachment to people who don't reciprocate their energy. Therefore, the rebellious person has the strength to continue embracing new adventures, challenges, and conflicts to achieve a clear goal. This generates progress in the individual and gives purpose to their life. These are courageous beings who battle the dragon of evil with courage, emerging from the cave of silence, burning the boat to gain an island. Despite the consequences that this entails, like in every battle, they are not intimidated because, in the end, they do not lose their souls, their essence. They are accustomed to entering the realm of death, but she is persistent and continues to try to humiliate Enrique with defamations, claiming that he is not enough and is full of faults or errors. She employs passive-aggressive manipulation techniques to destroy him and lead him into complete isolation, using Secret Service techniques to destroy a person who has only wanted to love her, both in bed and in life. But Nicole thinks that everyone is replaceable, except for herself and her children, who will be the new rulers of that old institution. She believes herself to be pure, open, and authentic in her cosmos, like a church full of stained glass windows that let in the sun. However, what narcissists fail to understand is that many people are available to accept and love you as you are, without having to endure any form of abuse. When she senses that Enrique wants to distance himself and leave everything behind, she shows him a new virtual world to keep him entertained with her techniques. In other words, she sucks him into Vinstagram with only ghosts and many other accounts that she controls, based on luxury, hedonism, and frivolity. These platforms are used to swallow you like an insect into her world, with followers who crave fame and luxury effortlessly. Nicole also creates many other accounts and channels on Spotify, such as Weekly Dose of the Mia Mediterranea, to play with his emotions. She not only prepares sophisticated mind games, but also creates songs with artists, with songs ad hoc, and sends them as headlines or notifications to her suppliers, with whom she still wants to maintain a lively interaction. Enrique wonders, how can a person be so diabolical and sick without being followed by a specialist? Because she is pathologically envious and filled with hatred. Nicole wants to destroy the one who rejected her, and she cannot bear the fact that someone is surpassing her and has moved on. This drives her crazy, looking at Enrique with resentment. She begins to compete and introduces all the tools to block Enrique, not allowing him to go, not letting him grow in his goals, or letting him be free as a man. That's why she kicks him out of her house without giving him his belongings, stealing everything from him. She denies having had anything in her house, throwing him on the street, without a job and without money. Furthermore, she accuses him of being a stalker when Enrique only wants to recover his belongings, which is why he requests a meeting to retrieve his things from there. But the entire system of this matrix is in favor of the queen and not the last comer. However, it is not enough to have him wandering the streets in distress. Nicole also sends flying monkeys to engage in stalking, mirroring, and harassment in his work and social circle, investigate everything possible to use against Enrique, the so-called defamation campaigns, and then manipulate and distort reality with bullying attacks from her non-Swiss guard, who have established a connection of blood and sperm with her and thrive on the miserable work she provides. Nicole started hating him more because she sees Enrique thriving, at peace, happy, and independent, a new man who no longer needs this toxic relationship with her to be well. But she can't lose him, even though she has other suppliers. She uses even good sex to market herself and gain more power validation or achieve her monetary goals, a seeker of attention, from her suppliers, using the allure of her curves in her favorite high-fashion dress to obtain only emotional validation. For her, sex is just another tool for her purposes and nothing more. That's why many canceled encounters, dates, or simply because it takes a long time to physically gratify her other suppliers who are sexually manipulated, sensually bending to show her beautiful back and buttocks formed by intense and competitive tennis practice. It also takes time to wrinkle and disarrange the sheets and pillows in houses, villas, and hotels, even though many times they never reach the intended room or location because it ends up in the car. I know them all. Old and fat, young and healthy, ugly and beautiful, strong or weak. In the end, all they have to offer is attention, power, and validation in exchange for good sexual treatment that will leave them petrified in due time. Enrique once said to her, who was behaving like the great harlot on duty in that old institution, "Nicole hasn't really gotten to know what it is to make love. Being sentimentally connected to one person and being one in the act by the union of two minds, two bodies, two souls, the good verb from which the social rule is born, that is to say, to give and receive in balanced way in order to obtain more in the whole. She does not even like to have sex, but she is no fool, and understands that is a very powerful instrument, essential for manipulation and getting more power when she uses well this last mentioned. coming from the first of the 7 chakras, from the cycle, from the energy of sex, from the energy conserved in the root of the chakra, from the Muladhara, consumed and not used for the awakening, that brings down even a whole empire, and therefore she knows the power that this entails. Now a question arises: what has not allowed her to know the final act shared in every healthy love relationship? Perhaps an old family trauma involving her father, observed through her mirror neurons, the behavior of her mother or father that she has not yet overcome, carrying it with her to this day. Enrique remembers. She did not let herself be seen by video calls or photos because of what happened with her ex. Adding to the misfortune, the disclosure of the intimacy she had with an ex-boyfriend when she confided in him at the age of 22 years old. For a split second, she glimpsed what a couple's love was, the desire to do anything willingly and eagerly, longing to one day experience that healthy ailment called love. But many people confuse it with passion to this day. I remember how this Sri Lankan couple working in my parents' house, how they love each other, how they respect each other, how they appreciate each other. And at that moment, I wish I could have it and live it too. Such a real and natural experience, said Nicole, while keeping the imagine of this couple alive. Since love is a secret, like 2 lovers kissing with closed eyes because they have no need to see the body, but to enter that 3rd dimension, that connection of souls. That's why making love is private, kept in the dark, preferably experienced at night. Nothing public. Like Islam is public, and Sufism is lived in silence. Like Judaism and Christianity, they are public, but their spiritual, mystical, and agnostic aspects are secret. Similarly, Buddhism is public, and Zen is taciturn. That's why you were born secretly, 9 months before your legal birth, and you die privately, as no one can see you when you depart from that body in your final breath. True love is like wisdom that enters through the eyes, unlike lies that are heard through the ears. In the same way, you will experience your dynamic, gradual enlightenment, and no one will tell you about it. But often, you may feel like you are entering madness or a mental burn due to the discovery of yourself and the painful layers of change, causing internal doubts that are necessary to know yourself deeply and make that leap forward. Whenever she contemplates leaving him, self-attacks of emotional codependency strike her. She experiences continuous anxiety or depression, requiring a double dose of alprazolam or emotional attention and validation, akin to a cocaine addict, or worse, a heroin addict. Quote, Honeste vivere, alterum non laedere, sum quique tribuere. Gneo domitio annio ulpiano. Nicole wants to know much more and does not respect the person's privacy boundaries. Does she want to know what Enrique's new future holds? What is the next step? What are his proposals or goals? Who are his friends, etc.? Because he belongs only to her, constituting his life, and to no one else. Nothing more beyond the real in this damn matrix of falsehood and illusion, Enrique expresses. This reminds me of The Way of the Wizard by Deepak Chopra, which mentions when King Arthur's wife enters his completely dark room. Arthur invites her in and encourages her to describe what she sees or perceives, what is in the room. She confidently describes what she knows or imagines knowing. In the end, Arthur lights a candle, revealing an entirely empty room. This is the illusion that equals disillusionment. Enrique explains to Nicole because she feels secure being able to see him wherever she wants. But he already knows her most hidden secrets, as he has transcended the 4th dimension. This brings her to critical points. She is losing control of reality and living in a world of total fantasy, nourished by suppliers and flatterers who insatiably feed on her. Father, I can't handle this man. He's terrible. He doesn't stop despite everything I've done. He's drowning in debts. I sent him to a psychiatric hospital for severe post-traumatic stress disorder. PTSD, and the other simps usually stay there for a minimum of 3 or 4 months, if not their entire lives. But this man got out in 2 weeks without taking any medication, and on the second day, he was training as if preparing for a war, wearing a white mesh mask on his head. Yes, this man took an underwear and made a mask to absorb the sweat. But now I reported him to the police, made him to believe I threw all his belongings away, and the criminal police haven't been able to find him in his new residence. I hate him. Nicole laments to her father, because she is desperate for failing all her shots against Enrique. What's happening, my dear daughter? You relaxed too much, and you underestimated this Enrique. Now you've enjoyed a little ice cream with him and seen him as harmless. In practice, he melted your heart. But remember, my beloved Papas, messing with the Sigma is to taste your own karma. The father scolds his daughter Nicole subtly. It's just that my non-Swiss guards are betraying me. I ordered them to kill him and attack, but they do nothing. They only bring me excuses. Meanwhile, I keep giving him more of our money, and they all always have me in 4K, with infections that I can't cure anymore. I'm desperate, father. Queen Nicole laments to her father. I understand, my Popus, but I told you to apply him the abusive key on his neck. La llave abusadora, our special technique for generations. You had to make this parasitic worm understand that he must bow before your feet, because you are the global and cosmopolitan Chiesa made flesh and blood. The father asks Nicole. Yes, father, I did it. I waited for hours to attack him well spiritually, and above all psychologically. I also took the necessary time until he lost all his money, his job, and his projects. And that's when I told him indirectly that I am the queen of the castle. That's why I showed it to him with all the means we have at our disposal, that is, in photos, music, videos, and even while we were finishing watching a movie together. In the end, I stood up from the couch, facing him, and did a baton ballet dance for a few seconds to make this man, Enrique, understand that I am the magnificent cheerleader of this castle, while Charlize Theron appeared on the screen dressed as an evil queen, and my father is the accountant of the castle. Nicole explains to her father what she did, so it was better to kneel before her feet and worship her if he wished to continue living. The accountant of the castle, that's not my rank, my beloved daughter. The father corrects her. I know, father. I mean to say, the accountant, the one who keeps the accounts, like St. Peter in heaven, who counts all your sins before entering heaven. Nicole explains better to her father what she understood to say. Oh, but I didn't know Charlize Theron had a face and a behind as beautiful and unique as yours. The father feels offended for being nominated as the accountant of an NGO and immediately offends her indirectly. What do you mean, father? That I have the face and butt culo, like a worn-out samurai flip-flop? Nicole gets fired up like a demon against her father. No, my beloved queen. For me, Charlize Theron is just a simple gold digger, chapadora, because she doesn't even minimally have the high level of aesthetic beauty that only you possess. The father quickly protects himself against his daughter Nicole. But do you know what this Enrique did when I finished my baton ballet dance? Nicole asks her father because she was astonished by Enrique's response. No, what did he do? How did he respond to you? The father asks, very curious, to the Popes. Quote, Mírame, háblame. Sabes que tu amor me hace libre. No pasa el tiempo si te tengo al lado. No existen sombras desde que has llegado. Me has iluminado. Tócame, siénteme. Sabes que tu amor me hace invencible. Amor libre. Shuga wuga and nach. And he scratched his neck up to his chin with his hand. In other words, he minimized our millenary power on this earth. In short, he called me a loser, perdedora. Nicole explains to her father, very offended by Enrique's gesture, and she smoked desperately like a street woman waiting in the rain for at least one client on the boulevard. Kyo, it's normal, my favorite daughter. Pray a little or meditate on compassion. Father advises his daughter Popes, but I no longer like this earthly celestial rain. It's poison. It's a damn infinite torture. Having to sleep with the real rulers of this world and the non-Swiss guards has made me tired. She screams at her father, but it's normal, my dear Popes. Father gently comforts his daughter. Yes, just with the big difference that the real rulers are not like those seen on television. They disgust me, Father. I can't take it anymore. She shouts at her father. That's why they're called political actors. By the way, this week you have 17 collaboration agreements to conclude with the seal of vapinal coitus. You know, they are part of the ceremony disguised as a goodwill initiative, and these are men from different sectors from all parts of the world. Oligarchs of cereals and other foods, arms dealers, oil magnates, gas, energy, bankers, hackers, organ mafia, drugs and rackets. But remember that all this is necessary for a cosmopolitan peace, my beloved queen. You understand, Cha? The father gives her a small lesson in politics and reminds her of the tasks she must fulfill. That's why, while you shake hands with those Pokemons, I have to do the apricoccia, the one who spread my legs to the real rulers of this fucking world. Nicole laments to her father sadly. I know, all of us are contributing a small grain of sand for the common good. Ah, there's one banker who's not coming to the building, the father tells Nicole. Why not? Nicole asks, concerned. So how can I tell you? It's just an extra request for the good service he'll offer us. So he's a little demanding or sadistic, since he's heard about the potion you took. Then he wants you to sing the prayer of the ceremony of the sevens underwater in the fountain of that park. Subtly, the father orders Nicole another extra sacrifice to make. But I'm a cosmopolitan queen, not a damn amphibious vacuum cleaner, una hoida amphibia aspiradora. Nicole gets seriously irritated with her father. Another small sacrifice you must make for this ancient religion, my beloved daughter. We can't change thousands of years of history just for you, my beloved daughter. The father indirectly anesthetizes his daughter. Father, you know I don't believe in this toxic religion we manage. That's for the fools. The Popes replies to the father, very enraged. Then take a few more little drops of that tranquilizer and pretend to be a victim. Remember the techniques we've taught you from your predecessors, or call your mother. Don't tell me that with 2,000 years of experience, you're now feeling stuck. Please, my daughter. So, did you already give him bread regularly with ergot? Claviceps purpurea. Rye ergot fungus. That blessed modified flower that has allowed us to convert so many, especially in the Middle Ages and in modern times of history. Ah, I miss those times. The father reminds Nicole, yes, I know very well the formula. Conflict, virus, or hyperlocal disinformation, plus ergo, fear equal, mass conversion. Summary of the secret formula is in the book. But that's not the point. The point is that he ate it. He regularly ate the hallucinogenic bread without realizing it. But father, I have a problem because everyone I have fucked, and there are so many, has drilled me with reinforced concrete and satisfied me for one night. And that's it. Easy job. But this Enrique showed me something I've never experienced. He hit me with the Palo Santo. He made it different from the others, something unprecedented. I didn't need to drink alcohol to have sex with him, and sometimes I even felt like crying due to the real emotion he showed me while making love. And I felt it too. Now I can't forget him, Father. It's engraved in my mind all the time. Nicole confesses to the father, very desperate because she can't fall in love. It's forbidden for her. While she tells him what's happening through her secure line, she watches a red ladybug with black spots walking around Enrique's beta blue fish tank that still stay in her apartment. It will pass, my daughter. Remember what you did with the father of your first child. You sent him to heaven in a few years. And the second one is crazy, wandering all over Germany with an electric piano and a white female mannequin because it reminds him of you. Haha, there are so many mummified ones. What a good job, my daughter. The father gives courage to the beloved daughter, Nicole, not to give up. Yes, father, but this one is making me pull out my hair. Are you understand? I have gray hairs. It's like he has Perseus's helmet and shield mirror. Because since I looked at him to petrify him, I begin to have motor disturbances, rheumatism at my age. And I see myself older and drier every time, more like a raisin. Besides that, he knows my true age and identity, and I don't know how. But he realized that even my documents are fake. Nicole confesses angrily to the father because she has no more collagen to swallow. But you always showed yourself humble, simple, and weak. Remember that poverty is the secret of our church. Do not forget, my daughter. You are the image of the Virgin Mary, with the baby on her hands. So if you did well in the last 4,382 years with the last generations, and now those babies are in heaven, because you are our Cleopatra, but more seductive. You are like the curve of Saint Devota, but more dangerous for all these incompetents, and this is the next one. I, for my part, am using all the rituals we have in the archives, shouts the father, desperate because he sees that the game of the great harlot is coming to an end. Bow, bow, interrupted by the Yorkshire Terrier puppy, Monfy, sweet and friendly, approaches Nicole's feet and drops a toy with virus-shaped because he wants to play with a small red rubber ball with many external dots. Nein, Monfy, pfui, pfui, Teufel. Yeah, father, I can be the Virgin Mary, but this baby doesn't want to be grabbed by no one. He only enjoys the process with his peoples beside him. She shouts at Monfy aggressively and pushes him with her foot while sitting on the sofa because the puppy is bothering her, while she explains what happened with Enrique. Also, she no longer wants to play the role of a tender and animal-loving woman. Quote, Shook Ones, Part 2, Mob Deep. Impossible, says the father to the Popus in a disbeliever way. Yes, father, he never had access to my data and respected my phone and privacy, but it was as if he didn't need to see anything because he already knew much more. I mean everything. Damn it, father. And now what do we do? Who do I have to fuck, Scopare? I fuck whoever you tell me. Let the Mother of Angels knows. To Mrs. Gerda Hullenbanda. Ah, and take this dog away from here. I'm not anyone's nanny, she tells the father in desperation. Impossible. How can he know so much in such a short time? Don't worry. Some of your non-Swiss guards will take the puppy away immediately, but you need to carry the baby into your hands, as the iconography, because he is stupid and innocent. Hence, you are the oldest expert and mother of this church to manage those unwise men that you can easily destroy. The father is astonished, talking to his daughter, but he wants to find another dark, covert solution. I can't, father. I cannot with him. I did everything who is in my power against him. Also, I tried to control him, and until now, I continue on it. But all, believe me, all, without no success. Look, father, I cannot tell you the whole list of traps that I used with him, but I gave some caramels to some younger guys and sent him the traps of the youngest gangster. For what? Wasted. Also, I had created the trick of the surrogate of a hornet, Calabrone, and not a bee, and at the end, wasted. Lastly, the trap of the big screen, where we are not only continuing every day to send him dark manipulation on the street with people in the social media, news, etc., and moreover, we are buying all the producers in the TV and in the whole cinema market. Nonetheless, all is in vain again. What else? What else I can do? Tell me, father. I want to know, says Nicole, exhausted to his father. Pause, pause, pause. What were those traps Nicole talking about? And what was the trap of the youngest gangsters? It was when he lost everything in the house of the Nicole. Meanwhile, he is sleeping on the street, in the parks or forest, so a group of young guys, around 6, came to spy him first, and then started to bother him, trying to fight against him and stole his stuffs he carries on a supermarket bag, because in that moment, he left on the table where he decided to sleep that night. But what they did not know is that 2 days before, a weird voice warned him while he was training in the gym and after making his relax ritual in the spa. "Be ready," says this voice while he's shaving his head in front to the mirror. "For what?" Enrique replies to this voice. "They are coming stronger than never," the voice says. "Why?" Enrique do not find the sense of such evilness. "Because you cannot defense as you will want to do it, but they want to destroy you as they always do." The voice says again, "Who?" asking Enrique, wondering why all this situation. "They are not adults, so even if you want to give them that lesson, they never received in their houses for their parents. It is better to stay away from them until the last options," replies the voice firmly to Enrique. "Huh, fuck, man. But at least, let me give them ones." Enrique replies disappointed. Meanwhile, this spirit cut his head deeply with the shaver, while his is shaving and the blood coming out continuously for a long time. "No, I said no," stopped Enrique. "This is your ticket to take off all of them from your back," the voice replies. Then, that night, when he is almost sleeping on a metal bench of the open house in the dark park, start to raining, and the baby gang entered in the open house with a good excuse, because it was raining outside, and they wanted to stay there for a while. Then, they starting to make some indirectly jokes, and finally asking something to drink to Enrique. "Hey, do you have something to drink, bro?" asks one of them to Enrique while he is laying down on his sleeping bag. "No, I'm sorry, but you can go to the kiosk. It is very close to here," he replies them. At this point, one of them tried to hit him in the head, but he moved quickly, and he missed him. Meanwhile, another one takes his plastic bag, and all of them run away faster together. So, Enrique has not his sneakers because he's inside the sleeping bag, while all their belongings are in a backpack and in that reusable grocery bag. Then he was only wearing a pair of white sportive socks in his foots, but for him it didn't matter, and run fastest than them, until finally took one of these young people. Therefore, all of them were afraid, and they stopped to bargain their mate. "Hey, listen carefully. I do not want problem. Give me my stuff back and I left your friend. I want to go to sleep. Tomorrow, I have to work. Clear?" Enrique had one of them by his arm. "Why are you here? This is our place and you are bothering. You must go away. Do you understand, man?" One of them shouted at Enrique. Furthermore, a couple comes at the same time on bikes, and they stopped in the middle of the situation. At that moment, they just threw back the bag with all his stuff everywhere on the wet floor because it was raining, and Enrique let it go, all of them. But they are staying around the area because they wanted to continue the game for the whole night, so he was forcing to call the police. "Hilfe, nein, nein, hallo, bitte, ich brauche Hilfe hier im Blücherpark, puh." Enrique speaks Deutsch and hang out the mobile suddenly before gave to the police his personal identification, turned off the mobile, and disappeared from this place. So when the police came, the baby gang vanished immediately. Additionally, after some days, Enrique went at the police station, and he is forcing to make a personal declaration against unknown people. But apparently it wasn't enough, and after some months they come back again, around 8 guys, and he saw them between the trees planning in the near area of the park before they are coming to his place. Then he camouflaged oneself behind the trees and waits for them. Thus, when they are entering aggressively into the open house of the park with the light of the mobiles and looking for him everywhere, they didn't find him. "He is not here. It is empty," said one of them in Deutsch. Because the open park house was empty, since he moved to another place before they are coming, and hid all his stuffs first. to come back, and suddenly he appeared out behind of them, with a certain distant with a knife and a hammer on his hands. Fortunately, when they saw him out, they didn't expect it, so they ran away just with a fast and deep breath, who did once Enrique. Shh! Enrique did a hard, deep breath one time. Interesting, because nowadays those little gangsters take care of his stuffs and respect him. Instead, the trick of the surrogate of a hornet, Calabrone, and not a bee, was when he came late at night from his work, restaurant, and he enters into the dark park with no light. So he saw in the darkness and near to the open house where he usually stays. Two people in shade, a skinny woman smoking a light thin cigarette, and a man with an umbrella because it was raining. But Enrique did not pay attention to them and went forward because he just wanted to go to sleep. But few seconds later, a patrol police came against him, but as he did nothing, just riding his horse. Then, they just going out with their horses and make some noise with the handlights, and after a few seconds, they went away. Lastly, the big screen manipulation is the last shoot to destroy any human mind. After all kind of dark manipulation on NLP, such offline and online, because they are trying to drag him down with the TV, and even worse, with the cinema or big screen. Back to the papas Nicole and his lovely father. De acuerdo. All right, leave him to me. Where is him right now? I will make a beautiful testa di moro maschio just for you, my beautiful popes. The father replies angrily to Nicole and use their special technology to find him and order the attack. Then, finally, can I put some flowers in my balcony again? He is now riding his black horse near to my fake mother's address in Maastrichter Strasse Street. Can you see him? The popes says to the father. Yes, send immediately a gang against him right now, shouts the father to Queen Nicole. My gang or your guards? She asks afraid to the father. Yes, your gang, but not just any, rather the 112's gang. Ha 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 ha. Smiles cynically the father to the popes. So, immediately 3 group of parakeets, birds, comes flying faster and in a lower feet near to the Enrique's head, while he was riding his black horse. And at the same time those birds trill high and higher on the street. Pio, 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 they are coming for you. Pio, pio, says the first group of birds, around 12 birds, to Enrique. Who? Asks Enrique to the birds. Pio, 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 the gang of the 112. Pio, 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 says the second group of birds, around 9 birds, to him. For what? Asks Enrique to the birds with his mind. Pio, 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 to bother you again. Pio, 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 says the third group of birds, around 7 birds, to him. Okay, thanks. Do not worry. I know what to do without use the forces. Enrique replies to the birds, their friends, with full of gratitude for their help, because without them, it could be almost impossible to do what it is supposed to be done. Then, few seconds after, 2 enormous men of the gang of 112 comes in their horses while they walked on the other side of the street. Therefore, Enrique is scratching his left eyes and face with his middle finger of his left hand, caused to an allergic reaction in the skin. But sometimes people confuse what is surround them, because what they think, they subconscious is underwater. So they pass by side to him, and after some seconds, they come back against him. Did you see? Say one of the law enforcements, Alpha, the sheriffs of this old West City, to the other colleague who is submissive, Beta. Quote, get up, stand up. Bob Marley and the Wailers. Ja, klar. Yes, sure. Responds the second man of the law, a little afraid because he knows really well his colleague, but he has a behaviors like a beta man, Those people who just follow the herd even when is wrong. Therefore, they come back quickly in their horses, whistling, beeping, and shouted against him in the middle of the street, full of people in a warm late afternoon. "Hey man, yeah you in the black horse. Stop, stop, stop right now," says the alpha of the gang's 112. Enrique stops relaxed and waiting for them, while they are coming aggressively against him, and intentionally the sheriffs do a dirty trick by kicking and pushing him back at the moment the alpha man gets off from his horse. A short ingredient of incitement with indirect violence to provoke a reaction that would allow them to find a plausible reason to use against him. "What's happening, man?" asks Enrique to them, so surprised. "You know what you did. We are the men of the law enforcement, and you make a big mistake against us. Showing us a middle finger in our faces," says the alpha man to Enrique. "Are you okay, sheriffs? This is what you use your power for," responds Enrique to them, showing a little bit of emotions because it's part of the drama. "Do not talk anymore, or it will be used against you. Show me your documents right now," says the big alpha man. Wait. But did you see what you already did? Kicking me and pushing me back for no reason. Abusing from your power for what? Or with what purpose?" replies Enrique again to them while looking for his passport in his suitcase, but losing a short time too. "You know really well how his work. You have a fine to pay now for what you already did against us, otherwise you need a lawyer." With an undercover smile, the law enforcement of the 112 says happily to Enrique. "What? Are you kidding me? I have an allergic reaction on my skin, face, eyes, neck, and arms, and you say that you showed the middle finger? Man, go to work, and do not lose your time with me," answers Enrique to them, and the beta man is just looking down on the floor with his crossed arms. Ja, klar. Give me your address. Where do you live?" the sheriff asks to him, ignoring his voice and secure of what he thinks, because the power that the people give to them. "I do not have house right now. I am homeless, but you can send me the letter in this address. Ferculum 42. Enrique says to them. "Where is it? In Culo?" The so wiser alpha man asks to Enrique. "Ne. Ya no es en tu culo. Just is the address. Ferculum. Here it is." He showed the address correctly. "Ya, wait for the letter then, okay? Says the alpha man to Enrique before moving on. And so, after they make a fine electronically against him for no reason, they take back their horses and move on, because they understand that he is not an easy man to trick, much less to dragging down into a trap. Consequently, the day after Enrique goes to a doctor and made a protocol test to provide and prove his allergic reaction in those areas mentioned above and be medicated too. In short words and technically, the father, the Popes, and the dear gang of the 112, all of them, ate an entire cucumber in one shoot. "Joder, maldito testa di moro," shouted the father to Nicole after he sees everything what happened on the street and his plan goes wrong again. Maybe what they say is true. Maybe he is the new Buddha, not by reincarnation, because I don't believe in that shit. Much less can he reincarnate in a half-Indian from Latin America. But this man, father, knows all my most intimate secrets. And when he finished meditating, he always said out loud, "Now I know. And this means I am the Buddha." And he looked at me and smiled relaxedly, until now I realized that he was splitting me in two. And I didn't realize it, father. What do? I don't know what to do. Nicole is confused and panicking because the effect of her miraculous drops is wearing off, and she tells her father what she couldn't stop in time. "No, it can't be. Let me see. In this game, we were expecting Jesus Christ, not Buddha. But Mrs. Gerda Hullenbande, the mother of the angels, will send you an African killer tonight. Have fun, and don't forget to take the drops. All this will pass, you will see." The father comforts his daughter Popes. "Why? No more gang with the police or military. We have to push hard, you know, father. The chief of police in NRW didn't accept the bribe this month, and the police lieutenants in the area don't answer my calls anymore. It seems they don't want to sleep with the queen anymore. How can this be, Father? Nicole tells her father desperately about the radical changes happening in front of her eyes, and she didn't realize the revolution that was coming to this land. Damn cops, I knew it. They always sell themselves to the highest bidder. The father responds desperately and angrily to his daughter Nicole. Because love is conscious, it is open, like a flower of freedom that emanates that pleasant fragrance around it, until it dies and is reborn again, being independent, even though it is in a relationship that is in its center, without being guided by panic, because this will bring a negative result, a wall, a barrier between the two. And it is this love that enters a phase, meditation that creates that eye, that heals the mind, body, and soul, covering that thirst that is satisfied by the blossoming in the union of intellect of the man and intuition of the woman, having this enchanted experience of serene love in one person, without dividing it with other people, because this would carry something in half and not complete. Since love is not an economic advantage and it comes disintegrated or worse, devalued in parts, and does not fulfill its totality of union between two beings who love each other, without being blind and with the courage to respond with a no when necessary or affirmatively if the conditions of both are satisfied. And remember, dear reader, to be wary of any religion that keeps its doors closed to some or is selective, as this is a behavior of a political party that only looks after its interests. Because there is no superior race, much less a people chosen by God or the universe. The only thing that exists is a single humanity preferred by the Lord of the spirits, whether she, he, or both, is or are delighted to see their best evolutionary creation, that is to say, after the stones, the plants, and the animals.